All right, back now with my panel. Angela, I think you were making a point on the trust between communities and police.
I was actually making a point about the difference between federal, state, and local law. And I think that what I've found often throughout this election cycle, and now on the other side of it, is people don't understand how that works. There is a difference in obligation between what a state and local law enforcement officer is supposed to do versus what the feds do. And I think that that is the point that Maria was trying to make earlier on, and it must have been missed. But I do. I give up.
Okay.
Maria,
let her finish. So your point is, hold on.
More cheese with that line?
John, let her finish.
No, I finished, Don. I just feel like it's not absorbed.
It's just more the same.
Go ahead, John. Let John finish.
This is about make America great again, not South America great again.
How about America
is
great already?
And they're going to start to bring back the country.
Sarah.
They're not going to pick and choose which laws they want to enforce.
As a conservative Republican who has worked on the illegal immigration issue for many years, and I'm pretty tough on that issue, I don't think that it's helpful if we're going to try to move forward, because it's very complicated and it's multi-layered, from the law enforcement aspect.
It is not complicated.
It is actually.
You're wrong.
No, it's not. Okay, I worked on this hands-on, and I come from a law enforcement family.
It's not a matter of that.
Multi-layered. It is. So just going out there and saying we're going to make America great again and we're going to throw everybody out is not a solution.
How about
we come up with a solution like we can enforce the border, we can enforce the laws, we can support the criminals, and then we can come up with some solutions instead of throwing bombs and talk about maybe guest worker programs or interior enforcement.
You would agree you can't just make up the laws as they go along.
See, that's the kind of language that the Trump campaign is purveying, and it's created the division that we have in this country, and it does not move us forward.
That's why he won the election.
John's trying to pretend that immigration and this issue of quote-unquote sanctuary cities is simple. I think completely betrays his ignorance of this issue, period.
No, just because we disagree.
Let her finish. I'll let you respond, John. Go ahead.
This is an issue that is so incredibly complicated, multi-layered. There's a reason why we have been able to get to comprehensive immigration reform when you actually have bipartisan people who have been working on this for years and who understand that there are certain pieces that absolutely need to be contained in a bill, but what happens is then it gets thrown into the political arena and people like John cheapen the debate.
So John, give us a policy solution then rather than a slogan.
You know what? You know what, Don? It's simple. If the mayors feel that way, they need to fight it out and they need to put forth the legislation that's going to change the law. But we can't have anarchy. You can't have politicians just announcing what laws they're going to enforce, what laws they're not going to enforce. So start to say, you don't have to, it's fake outrage, and you watch. That was a great move also, by the way.
But I hear all of these people who are here and who have worked on it and who know the law saying, that's actually how the law works. And and you're saying it's not, but that's legally, that's how it works. One doesn't have.
Can I just give you one example? Here's one example.
Well, I just want to finish.
John,
but
no,
what they need,
John
to wait is for President Trump's legislation that's going to come out before you start to. I will, but before they start to announce, they're not going to follow it. Go ahead.
Okay. So here's the thing, and it's just one example of what I mean when I say I don't think you fundamentally understand how government works. You just suggested that mayors should put forth legislation, and I sit before you today.
Support legislation.
Well, you know what they do? It's called comprehensive immigration reform. If that is something that we can get to, a lot of this can be fixed. Because a lot of these immigrants will be legalized if they have no criminal record behind them.
And the other
Garcetti or de Blasio can work through their representatives for the type of legislation they want. But again, I don't want to be a broken record. You can't just start to announce that your city is going to welcome people.
Actually, and for those mayors in those cities that say that they're not going to cooperate or they're going to hand over the criminal aliens which they have not done, which is what happened in San Francisco. That's what happened with Kate Steinle. That's how she ended up being killed, because the person who killed her, who was deported 7 times and came back, and he was not handed over to ICE. There's a bureaucratic nightmare going on with detainers and local law enforcement in counties and ICE and who gets deported and how. It needs to be overhauled. It needs to change. But there has to be more cooperation.
But Don,
and for those kind of sanctuary cities, there's a way that you can make them comply and that's with federal funding. And if they don't comply, then that's up to Congress.
But
Angela, you would agree. You can't have politicians deciding
that was Sarah who was just talking to you.
There's also a way to get these cities, and a lot of the mayors of these cities actually do comply with a lot of these detainers and actually do work with ICE after the person has served their sentence or after the court has said what needs to be done with this person. They do turn them over to ICE because they have an agreement with ICE that they will do that only when there is a detainer or a court order. That's very different from asking community officers, community policing officers, to go around asking people for their immigration papers.
That's right.
And that is what a lot of Republicans